What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Parrot Press. Sorare has changed. We've got new competition structure. We've got new prize pools. We've got divisions. We've got this thing around stars will be stars. We've got a lot of things that have actually been changing in the last few weeks, as well as probably most people's gallery, adapting to these changes, changing strategies, selling players, to probably taking a loss on some players to bring in some new players. We've got in-season versus classic. We've got a lot that's been going on, and that's made me question, have I got the right approach? Am I doing the right strategy? Am I buying the right players? Am I selling the right players? It kind of makes you question everything that you're doing when you're going through this whole change cycle, right? So I thought, why not go out there and ask some of the best Sorare managers, some of the guys that win regularly, some of the guys that have tried and failed at different strategies as well, guys that have got really good Sorare experience. They've been around the platform a long time. They're kind of in the know in terms of when the new news drops. They're kind of all over it, and they're thinking about, oh, how do I bring my gallery to position to now succeed? And I thought I'd ask them the question: what would they do in my position? If they was behind the mouse on my gallery, what would they be doing? Who would they be selling? Who would they be buying? What strategy would they be doing? Would they just be totally stopping what I'm doing at the moment because they think that's the wrong strategy? I thought I'd go out there and ask them. And the first manager that I asked was Nepenthes, and here's what he come back with. He said, if I was in control of your gallery, I would sell those super rares instantly, the limiteds too, and then focus my attention to challenge up rare classic comps. You've got some solid players in there already, especially the goalkeepers. I would focus on bringing in some more quality to the defenders, especially for post-Euro season end, perhaps duplicates of the top players too. Another Wagner, another Lennon, and develop the MLS Classic comp lineups. I would also spend where I could on getting the extra 3% XP on collections of some of the players, especially in the MLS when you can get some cards for 0.00x ETH to help with that percentage boost. So point one was selling the super rares that I got. A Gressel, a Lovett, a Nuhu. I think I've got a couple of others in there as well. Guys that I'm actually not using anymore because, again, pre the Sorare change, I was actually playing Rare Pro. I was playing Cap 240 Super Rare as well to try and get that extra ETH, but I'm not using those players anymore. So it's absolutely spot on. They're players that I don't need. Let's get the ETH in and let's change the gallery. He then goes on to say about the limited as well. Now, the limited in my gallery are literally worthless. I don't even know whether I could sell them to a bot, but you know, why are they there? I'm not playing limited competitions. So he's absolutely right. I should be selling those guys. The next point he makes is around strengthening my defenders. And it's something that I've been looking at trying to do in the last couple of weeks, to be honest. But out there, that, you know, in the MLS, there's not many that are out there, apart from maybe Herrera and the Columbus guy, Edmundson, I think his name is. I'm not in love with any of them, really. But what he does go on to say is, well, buy another, you know, some of the smashers, if those are the four players that I really like and I think that are the best MLS defenders, will buy duplicates of them, you know, run them in multiple lineups. And it's something that I didn't really think about because it's always kind of being risk adverse a little bit. Because if they do have a stinker and they have a really bad really bad game or a DMP or a long-term injury, etc., you've kind of put a lot of investment into them. But when they do smash, they put you in the front line to have a really good lineup, right? So it's something that I'm going to take away, especially now we've got the split between in-season and classic as well. Could potentially see another Brooks Lennon coming into the gallery. And the last point he makes is around XP. It's kind of that collection bonus. And again, it's something that I've never really done in the past. I think the most percentage that I've had on a player due to collection is 2%. But I know, especially with in-season now, right? XP is going to be massive because people are running those stacks. So if you have a bigger collection, that maybe that 1% on each player is going to make a big difference. But as I'm looking at getting some of the best players, some of the real quality, it would actually be good to boost their XP a little bit and differentiate them to other people that have got the same player. Because as we know, in Rare especially, from where I'm kind of focusing and where I'm playing at the moment, is that prices have dropped a little bit. So people are going to have similar players, and you've got to have a way of differentiating them, whether that's getting them to level 20 before everybody else, or whether that's potentially getting some more XP from collection bonus or something like that. And it's something that I think that I've got to take a look at. So Yeah. Overall, three really, really good points from the Penfers, and I'm definitely going to be taking those on board. The next piece of feedback comes from Harry Trades. So he says, I don't think that you need to be buying any more summer MLS players if you've got enough T1, T0 players to put across 2 or 3 lineups every week. I'd be prioritizing in-season challenger and Cap 240 slash Challenger Classic with the aim of churning ETH and cash over the summer to add to your zero point 0.1, because I said that's what I had in the bank basically. And then you could look into potentially building a Prem team slash a Champ team for August with the cash that you've won over the summer plus the 0.1 that you've already had. Let me know if that helps, mate. All the best. So Harry thinks that I should stop buying now. He feels as though I've got enough quality. I've got enough players in there, some good players to win competitions and to kind of generate ETH and win cards, etc. throughout the summer, which is really good to hear, right? It's good to see somebody say that you're going to be successful with that competition that you're focusing on at the moment. But what he does say is to then forward think about, well, what's next? What's the next competition? And he suggests around the Premiership and around champion competitions as well. And I think that he's spot on. I think that that's my next competition that I should be focusing on. It's a league that I know well, the Premier League, obviously. Being from kind of this country, I'm a big Spurs fan. Watch it every single week, pretty much watch all the highlights as well. So if I kind of put that knowledge to the Sorare side of things as well, hopefully I can build some good stacks there. And it's somewhere there that I wanted to be, where I want to be competing as well, because as Sorare says, stars will be stars, and that's where the best competitions, or the best prizes, should I say, is going to be in those competitions. So yeah, a nice bit of forward thinking there, I think, and I think Harry's spot on in terms of where my next competition or my next priority should be. He also does touch upon the in-season competition as well, and I do think that I need to buy a couple of players for that in order to regularly be getting some cash over the summer period. So not massive players. I don't think I need the Carlos Hills and the Kyle Wagners and that sort of stuff. But I need some decent scoring players in there for sure. Okay, so next up is Gatorguy. What he says is really good pieces. If I had to guess, though, I bet you a random roadie or two in every good lineup that it's a so-so matchup, and you convince yourself that it's a good one. And it holds you back from a killer finish when you have some of your elite homies being like home players playing at home in AAA matchups. Also seems like you're really MLS geared. So this summer, when Europe ends, you really need to win a good deal so that you can have a balance for Europe. Here's what he'd probably do. So 1, don't go and spend the ETH on depth. Instead, spend the ETH filling in the last piece or two when you have like a Messi, Puig, and Almeida, or somebody like a Blake, Messi, Wagner, and Gill, all in great spots, but you aren't super thrilled on Almeida or Puig or whatever. You find the wire, which everybody does, and you use the ETH to pick up a guy for that weekend that you know to crush. So kind of simply put, again, is what he said. If I have 4 players that are at home and they've got AAA fixtures, and then I'm trying to plug somebody in there who I think's going to have a decent game, but buy somebody where you know that they're going to have a good game, I think is what he's getting at there. Number 2, I think in season is pretty thin overall, specifically midfield. You could use a good piece. I don't think that you need to get like a superstar, but someone like a Lewis Morgan that's in a good spot, when Forsberg's in a good spot, or a Delgado or a Brugman to go with your Pantsil or Puig Classic if you love the Galaxy spot. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Otherwise, really like the place that you are in rare-wise. As hard as it is possibly selling off some of the other pieces, if needed, that just make you feel like you would ever win with them. No matter what you paid to add extra ETH so that you can match up hunt, like what you said. So basically sell off some of the players that you spent big money on to bring in some of the players to actually compete in good lineups and plug that last piece with a really good fixture. His last thought was, when you own a Messi, I think the number one thing that you are required to do is, when you know that he's looking at 100, which is pretty often, you have good places around him with good matchups, basically. Otherwise, there is really no point in having him. Hope that helped. So some really good points in there, obviously coming from a really good Sorare manager. And the first one that he makes is, or the first comment that he makes is around me going kind of balls deep basically in the MLS for the summer and putting all my eggs in one basket. And I am kind of doing that, but I'm expecting to get some kind of return. And don't forget that MLS players do play up until about November as well, if they kind of make the playoffs. But he's spot on. It is a bit of a risk that I'm taking, but I'm taking it. I'm going for it. The next point he touches upon is basically saving your ETH, doing your lineup building. And if you've got that fifth spot where you really need somebody who's playing at home, as we know how dominant that is in the MLS, you need somebody to come in and support the likes of Carlos Hill and Messi, etc., to go out there and pick somebody, look at the matchups and buy them and plug them in. And I think that that's a really good strategy. If I had more ETH, I could probably try and make it work in terms of the budget that I've got now. And then if it doesn't work, you sell that player. And maybe you're working at a constant, a little bit of a loss. But if it does hit, and if you're confident on that fixture, and you're confident on that guy coming in and doing the business, then obviously you could reap some rewards as well. So I get the idea behind it. Am I sold on it? I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure everybody else has been there before, where you kind of have a 4-man team and you think, oh, I'll just buy that one and just plug him in, or I'll spend a little bit extra because why not? Everything looks good, right? And that might be the only lineup that you've got going into that game week. And it's probably a bad buy at that point because you're buying for a game week rather than further thinking. However, if you are buying pure quality to come in there, maybe it's a good technique. I don't know. I'm not 100% on it at the moment. His next point was around in-season cards, a familiar theme, really running through the kind of experts' review of my gallery. I think it's an area that I need to invest in, absolutely, and I am going to be doing that hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well, trying to get some of that ETH and trying to get some of that cash flowing through from in-season rewards and high place finishes, etc. He does mention something that I said earlier, actually, around I don't think that I need the superstars because there's not many of them, and you're not competing against 300 or 400 classic rare Carlos Hills. You're competing against, I don't know how many has been minted at the moment, but maybe like 30. So I just think that I need maybe some set piece takers, guys who peak a little bit, kind of drop up, drop down, those type of people. So I'm going to be on the lookout for them. But I think it's all about starting with value for money for the in-season, knowing that I've spent the money in quality for classic. And then the last key point that he actually makes is around Messi. And he's spot on. I wouldn't have Messi unless I had Carlos Hill, Hector Herrera, Kai Wagner, Brooks Lennon, Ander Herrera, obviously having a good season, some decent goalkeepers like Steve Clark and Stephen Fry at home, those type of things. He is spot on. If you can't support somebody who costs you that amount, then absolutely he shouldn't be in your gallery, kind of in my opinion. But I think that he fits my gallery. I think that what Gatorguy is trying to say is just make sure that you have multiple pieces to kind of plug in rather than looking for that fifth man to come into a lineup, especially when people like Otamendi, Di Maria, some of those other guys that I've got, Unistal was a good goalkeeper, and their season finishes. It's having the right tools around Messi in order for him to flourish really and get me high up in the leaderboard. But yeah, much appreciated, Gatorguy. Some really good tips in there. And the last expert comes from Mr. Sorare Data himself, Andrew Laird. He says, it's clear that you're focusing on absolute quality when it comes to Challenger Classic Rare, with what seems to be a slight push towards in Season 2. Maybe this is a little to just do what I want to do, but why not double down on some of those players and run multiple similar lineups? Or even similar in Season and Classic? Instead of adding guys like Roseberry, Arriaga and Lovitz, guys that I've picked up kind of recently, who are fine, why not get more correlation, duplication, and with somebody like a Daniel Saloy to pair with my in-season Tommy? He likes the Benfica guys that I've got in the lineup who can play with the MLS until their season is over. And when they return from the off-season, are you planning on building that out so that you can keep competing when the MLS is done? He would even try maybe turning those guys into better MLS options now and see if you can win them back throughout the summer and win them back later when they're kind of back in the prize pools. He says it doesn't sound like great content, but I think what you're doing is makes sense, and you're doing it correctly. So that has come up again. It's come up again around, duplicating some of the players, or at least having an in-season card and a classic card of the same person. If you really like their matchup, if you really like them as players, if they're good, high-scoring, Sorare players, just as what Nepenthe said, pick up another Lennon, pick up another Wagner, maybe another Hector Herrera for playing home fixtures. Can you get that in-season and classic? Something that I didn't really think about, but I am seriously, strongly thinking about doing it now. He also touches upon in-season as well, building some depth there, maybe some small stacks in there as well. And Soloy to pair with Tommy is a really good stack. It's a card that I've looked at. I just think that at the moment he's probably a little bit overpriced. Would love to win him though, and as you said, Led, it would be a really good stack, I think, from a midfield and a forward point of view. And I think that Sporting Kansas City, I think they're going to pick up in the next few games, to be honest with you, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, in season, a familiar theme definitely needs strengthening. Looking at some of those players who can add be really good for the value. He also likes the Benfica boys, so I've got Rafa Silva, I've got Otamendi, and I've got Di Maria as well. I think that are really good options. There's only a couple of teams in Portugal really, right? So if you stack them correctly in the right match, they should be smashing. I mean, Di Maria I don't think's hit a below like 70 in about 10 games or something like that. I know he's older, but they're actually talking about renewing his contract, which would be pretty nice. Or he could be going, could be going anywhere to a non-covered league in Sorare, whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm going to keep them around for now. I'm definitely going to use them in the Copa America, I think it is, Argentina. So I've got the Messi, I've got Di Maria, I've got Otamendi. So that seems to be a really nice stack as well. But I am going to keep at least those two around for now, because I do think that they're really good Sorare scorers. And Portugal is probably somewhere that I'm going to look at when we kind of come back, when they come back and they start their season again, because I think that in that challenging competition, it might be a little bit of an underappreciated league. Sporting, Porto, Benfica, those type of teams can really smash. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye out there as well. But appreciate you coming back to me, Led. Some really kind of key points in there that marry up together with what the other guys said as well. So all in all, some really good advice, some feedback, some tips in there, some forward thinking tips as well, where they think that I should be going, etc. And it's nice to know that they all thought that my gallery is in a strong position as well, because it has taken a few weeks with the transition and the change that's been going on at Sorare to get to the point where I'm at now. It's now about building and moving forward, and I think some duplicating some of the cards that I've already got. It's about forward thinking about, do I need to spend all my ETH now, or do I need to start maybe securing some spots for competitions in the future? It could be strengthening in season is something that I absolutely need to do for sure, and selling some of my deadwood, some of the cards that I don't actually use. But if you want to see what I do in the next kind of week or so, I'm going to be making some of these changes. So feel free to follow me over on Twitter, because I'll probably post some of the signings or some of the cards that I buy on over there. At the Parrot Press. But I will be making another video as well. So taking the advice that I've got here and putting it into practice, and see what I go for, and see who I buy, see what I change, etc. So if you want to see some of that sort of stuff, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. And as always, I'll see you in the future.